Gde nam je mesto?
Dobro, da. Da, evo.
Jesam.
Evo ga da tako baš.
Eleganci ste, moram da ti kažem, veoma se eleganci.
Hvala, pa evo, to je za okrog pomena.
Što ima?
Koleginice i kolege, dragi gosti, dobrodošli na Pravni fakultet Univerziteta u Beogradu. Ja sam Dušan V, redovni profesor i pozdravljam vas u ime organizatora. Ovaj skup, kao što vidite već po nazivu, je nešto malo drugačije u odnosu na konferencije koje smo organizovali prethodne 4 godine, što ne znači da nećemo ponovo organizovati konferencije intelektualna svojina i internet. Nastavljamo već sledeće godine. Odlučili smo da se te konferencije u buduće organizuju svake druge godine i da se tada izdaje prateći zbornik, a sve u saradnji sa Fondacijom Registar nacionalnog internet domena Srbije, na čemu im se ja još jedan put najtoplije zahvaljujem. Međutim, pošto smo se svi navikli da se vidimo u junu i da ova naša mala zajednica stručnjaka za pravo intelektualne svojine, koja se sve više širi, okupi u junu, rešili smo da ipak ne preskočimo ove juni, a imali smo i veliku sreću da naš gost, dr. Sedrik Manara, direktor Google-a za autorsko pravo, prihvati naš poziv, tako da zaista imamo izuzetnu priliku da sa njim razgovaramo o autorskom pravu. Pre nego što dam reč našim pravim domaćinima, dekanu Pravnog fakulteta, profesoru Zoranu Mirkoviću i gospodinu Goranu Milankoviću, članu Upravnog odbora Registra nacionalnog internet domena Srbije, ja bih želeo da se još jedan put zahvalim RNIDS-u, njegovom direktoru, gospodinu Vladimiru Maniću, koji je tu sa nama, članovima Upravnog odbora i čitavoj kancelariji RNIDS-a na podršci tokom prethodnih 5 godina i nadam se da ćemo ovu uspešnu saradnju nastaviti. Ja sada dajem reč našem domaćinu, dekanu, profesoru Zoranu Mirkoviću. Izvolite.
Poštovane koleginice i kolege, dragi gosti, poštovani studenti, ja bi u ime Pravnog fakulteta i u svoje lično ime pozdravio direktora Fondacije Registar nacionalnog internet domena Srbije, gospodina Vladimira Manića, gospodina Gorana Milankovića, člana Upravnog odbora i Upravni odbor, i posebno našeg gosta, gospodina doktora Sedrika Manaru, jednog od direktora Google-a, direktora za autorsko pravo. Nama je zadovoljstvo i čast da vas sve ovde pozdravimo i da zapravo na ovom mestu istaknemo tu saradnju koja postoji između Fondacije RNIDS-a, kako bi ga skraćeno nazvali, i Pravnog fakulteta, da je to dugogodišnja saradnja, da ova fondacija pomaže organizaciju skupova. Pomoći mi kolega Dušan, ovo je znači peta konferencija. Mi smo srećni i zadovoljni zbog toga. Želim da istaknem da naši profesori učestvuju kao arbitri u komisiji za rešavanje sporova. Znači, to je jedna saradnja koja je veoma plodna i koja će se, nadam se, nastaviti. Mi kao fakultet i kao akademska zajednica posvećujemo izuzetnu pažnju intelektualnoj svojini, koja postoji kao predmet, kao što znamo, i to kao obavezan predmet na osnovnim studijama, i već 6. godinu na obnovljenim, odnosno na ovim master studijama postoji predmet i studije iz prava intelektualne svojine. To je nešto što je, kako da kažem, veoma značajno i da se ta, kako reče kolega Dušan Popović, mala zajednica sve više razvija i da naš fakultet daje doprinos tom razvoju. Ja bih vas sve još jednom pozdravio i unapred se izvinio zbog toga što za 15 minuta mora da napustim ovaj skup. Mislio sam da slušam bar jedno izlaganje kolege Sedrika Manare, ali nisam, prosto zakazane obaveze ranije mi to ne dozvoljavaju. Hvala. Molim.
Zahvaljujem se dekanu, profesoru Mirkoviću, i sada dajem reč gospodinu Goranu Milankoviću, članu Upravnog odbora RNIDS-a.
Registar nacionalnih domena Srbije je fond koji je osnovan pre 11 godina sa osnovnim zadatkom da upravlja domenima Srbije. Tada je postojao samo jedan, sada imamo i ćirilični i latinični. Naša saradnja sa Pravnim fakultetom u Beogradu ide iz 2008. godine, pokazala se vrlo plodotvornom i po njihovoj ideji mi smo prihvatili da im pomažemo u organizaciji njihovih skupova o intelektualnoj svojini, na kojima sam ja svake godine od početka nešto novo naučio. Iskreno, u svoje lično ime, ja se nadam da će to i ove godine da se desi, a nadam se da ste i vi zbog toga tu. Hvala.
Hvala lepo. Time smo završili ovaj mali ceremonijalni deo sa pozdravnim rečima i posle pauze koja će trajati nekoliko sekundi nastavljamo, možemo već da pređemo dalje. So we are now switching to English and I would like to welcome our guest star, Dr. Sedrik Manara, head of copyright at Google. I will first mention a few facts from Dr. Manara's CV. I'm sure that you have already Googled him, so you're familiar with these facts. Dr. Sedrik Manara joined Google in 2013 after 40 years as a professor of law at EDEC Business School in Paris. EDEC is one of the best business schools in Europe. His primary teaching and research interests concerned intellectual property in the digital context and electronic business law. From 2000 to 2013, Professor Manara was head columnist for Dalloz, a prominent Francophone law review, where he regularly published comments on internet-related cases. He has written numerous articles in French and foreign law reviews, and he is often quoted in the press. He received the Google Research Award in 2010. He is also a domain dispute resolution panelist. He was a visiting scholar at the Institute for International Law and Public Policy at the Temple University, at the Institute of Intellectual Property Law in Japan, at the University of Salerno, at the IPR University Center in Helsinki. Professor Manara received his LN degree from the University of Lille in France and a PhD from the University of Versailles in France. Without any further ado, Dr. Manara, I give you the floor.
Thank you. Yes, I will stand up if it's fine. Can you hear me? there. Thank you. Actually, not thank you. Because you just reminded me how old I am. I mean, 14 years of this, 6 years of that.
Well,
That's not really nice for a house, right?
these are the facts.
So I've been young. And I say this because I see a lot of young faces here. I just wanted to say something to begin with. It was not on my paper. But actually, when I was a law student, maybe some of you are still law students, I didn't study IP law. I didn't study copyright. And interestingly, I didn't study internet law because back then, you know, internet was just something very new and no one paid attention to that. So interestingly, I've become, yes, I've worked a lot in that field. And now, so I've been teaching copyright even though I didn't learn it. And now I advise a company on copyright. So I think that it's an interesting story to share here. It's because most of the issues you will be working on, most of the issues you will be working on don't exist. And so I think this is part of the journey we'll be having together is look to the future, look at how we can solve complex problems. So what matters is, you know, how good you are at solving legal issues rather than really the knowledge of existing copyright law or Roman law or anything. Even the Roman law is really helpful in day-to-day practice. When you work at Google, you don't know what to work on, you don't know where to start looking from. Sometimes Roman law can be really useful. So work on your passion, work on what you like, and at some point, you know, we'll be rewarded with what you want to work on. Thank you for being here. Thank you to your University of Belgrade. Thank you, Dean and Sedrik Dušan, for the invitation. And thank you to, so I don't never know how to pronounce it, RNIDS, to the Serbian Registry for the invitation. So I'm expected to, that's the other non-thank you for Dušan, to speak about, so let's see, yes, copyright law challenges on the internet in 20 minutes. Okay, so there are many challenges, not many minutes, and there are many, many legal challenges, many in my field. So I had to select a few, but I guess the questions that follow, that we'll moderate, will help us extend the scope. But I thought I would share with you some of the truly global challenges, not just for Google, but for all internet companies, for users, for you, young professionals, future professionals, seasoned professionals. So it's one of the things I wanted to share with you. It's the challenges of more. With the internet, there's more. There's more creators. There's more content. There's more platforms. And this really has an impact, I think, on copyright law in general, because copyright law was designed primarily in the 19th century where just a few people knew how to write. Just a few people knew how to paint. There were no movies when the Berne Convention was entered into force in 1881. And I think that the premises, the paradigm upon which copyright law is based, are already changing. Thanks to technology, thanks to the internet, and this is part of the journey I wanted to take you with me on. So there's more. There's more what? There's more content, there's more platforms where you can access a lot of things. If you want to access Game of Thrones when it's being live streamed, being streamed on TV in the US, you can also access it on the platform at the same time. So the world has become global. You know, access is instantaneous. It's not, you know, through windows like in movie theaters. It's instantaneous. It's global, and copyright law remains very territorial. And so, at the same time, you have the capacity, thanks to the internet, to have access to everything when you want it, provided you pay for it. We're going to speak about piracy later on. Problem is rights. You know, the thing is, sometimes the content is there, except that you can't access it just because you're not in a country where the platform has rights. So there's a thing here. We have this habit that the market is structured based on the territoriality of copyright law at a time when the needs of the users, the expectations of the market, is really to have a truly global thing. When you travel, you want to access your favorite movies, your favorite series, your music, without seeing holes in your playlist, without not being able to access your favorite movie or series when you paid for it. So I think this is one of the issues here is the internet is global, copyright law remains territorial, and even though licenses can help most of these issues, still the business approach is always this. So when we platforms, such as those, you know, so can I go back? Oh yes. When we platforms would love to offer you all the content that we got a license on, globally and in real time, sometimes we're constrained. You know, the owners of the rights don't let us do. So there's a sort of gap between what platforms can offer you and what they would like to offer you. And that is, I think, one of the challenges. It's not a legal challenge. It can be solved through licenses. It's just a change in mindset. How businesses, how producers of content should look at reaching out to a global audience when the habit is to divide the world in territories, in markets, etc. So that's one of the issues here. There's more, except that there's not more. You know, sometimes the content is there, but except that it's not there. And so that's the other thing. There are many platforms. I mentioned Hulu, Netflix, there's YouTube, etc., etc. But at the same time, these platforms exist. There are more services through which you can access works, movies, music, software, etc., because it's the age of multitude. IP was defined by scarcity, intellectual property. Things were rare. Now things aren't rare anymore. And I think it's one of the challenges, not just for copyright law, by the way, but when you can bring to the world many, many things, because everyone knows how to write, everyone knows how to use a computer, everyone knows how to publish, it's very different than the world that existed back in the 19th century when there were only a few people who were literate enough to create. And that's another challenge. So when we speak of content or works particularly by copyright, we don't speak anymore of the kind of works that the Berne Convention or other founding treaties had in mind. It's not just about long movies produced by the Hollywood industry. It's also about cat videos. You know these videos of a cat on a skateboard that you saw on YouTube. That's part of the content, that's part of the works people are now accessing to. So in other words, where you had a limited offer if you wanted to watch something, now you have an unlimited offer in many formats and of many genres. So it's not just professionally produced movie that cost a lot, it's also cat videos shot with your iPhone. And that is also a big change in how people consume content, because copyright law is about the public. So it's this. It's content that goes online can be an extremely costly movie that takes hundreds of millions of dollars to produce, to something that is offered for free by an amateur who wants to release this under a Creative Commons license. It's an open license with which you can say, well, what I did here, you can freely use it. Okay, so that's the world we're living in. It's a world where copyright law is for everyone, not just for the publishers of books, not just for the publishers, for the producers of movies and music. It's for you, it's for me, it's for everyone who wants to put something online. And it's become really easy to put something online. So that is one of the challenges, right? A copyright that works for everyone online and not just those lawmakers primarily had in mind throughout ages. And that is very important, I think, to start our journey from. There's more works, there's more platforms, there are more people who are ready to put things online. This is a photo that was taken when Pope Benedict was introduced. And this photo, you have one phone here, someone's probably bored and looking at text messages. And the photo was taken by a professional photographer, and people pay attention to what's happening at the Vatican. 8 years later, new Pope is introduced, and this is it. You know, people take photos themselves. And I think this is what it's about. There was one photo of the event 8 years before. There are many photos of the same event taken by many And so here you have, someone for the Associated Press who was sent there. Now you don't even need to send a journalist. You don't even send a photo reporter anymore. Just need to go on Twitter and look at the pictures of the event. And they might be better, by the way, than this. So I think this is really it. If you want to keep one picture of that, it's this. It's that what people are taking here, pictures, those pictures themselves can be subject to copyright. And if they are, it really shows that copyright applies to everyone's routine activity. And that's very important to keep in mind. So that's the power of the technology. We have in our hands powerful tools to write, take photos, make videos, and upload them instantly. And that's very fascinating. It also means that, again, if we had to roughly put this in stats, most, if not the vast majority, if not almost everything, every piece of content that is visible on the web today is not produced by a news publisher, by a movie producer, by a book publisher. It's produced by anyone. And so that is really a challenge. How does copyright work when it applies to everyone and every work? Think of YouTube. On YouTube, in just 1 minute, 500 hours of video are being uploaded. 1 minute, 500 hours of videos. So 2 minutes, that's 1,000 hours. Count how much it is in 1 hour, in 1 day, etc. So that is a way to measure, how works are being uploaded to the web and shared globally instantaneously. So you have this content which is shared globally, and you have at the same time, just a few Hollywood movies shown or not in a country depending, on this window and this timing, etc. That is a really different world. Same for, we have a problem here. So people write, they don't only make videos or make pictures, they write stuff. Same thing, on Blogger, which is one of Google hosting platforms, people blog and write things. And if we count, it can be up to 250,000 words a minute, okay? And it's the same for photos. In our annual report at Google, we wrote that in 2018, people have taken 1,000 billion photos collectively, 1,000 billion photos with their phone. Not all of them will go online, but I think it's a way to show how the multitude of works are now available. Works, I'm saying works, I see Dušan here saying, well, when someone is taking this picture, is it really protected by copyright? Well, and one of the challenges here is that the threshold for protection of work is really low in US law, in most of the European jurisdictions, etc. So yes, arguably, most of these works can be protected. Not everything, but still, if a company like Google has to treat works as if were protected, so that is one thing here, and it's a case of everyone. But again, there's a question of law, but there's also a question of market access, pricing, etc., and I'm getting there. But that's the challenge, the challenges of more. Do you need to go? Yes. Thank you for coming. So that's one of the first challenges. And I think that it's not just Google's challenge, not just the rights holders industry challenge, everyone's. How do we think of copyright to make it fit for a digital age where everyone is not just a user of someone else's content, but actually everyone is a producer of content. Everyone is a creator. Everyone is an author. And I think this photo encapsulates what I wanted to show here. When you get, again, it really shows that people are making photos all the time. You are doing so. What does it mean for the photo industry when all these photos are available, etc., etc.? So that's the starting point. There's more, and more was not the basis upon which the people who drafted the Berne Convention they were not thinking of that word of multitude when they were protecting the rarity of creation that existed back then. So there's many challenges, because you wanted me to speak of challenges. The first is the challenges for the rights holders industry, the music producers, the book publishers, the news publishers. You can have photos, blog posts, videos that are of the same quality, has heavily, highly costly productions made by books publishers, news publishers, movie producers, etc. So some cat video can be more successful than a movie which costs $10 million to produce. And there's a competition between the two. So it's a question of quality. Sometimes, you know, when you have to make a choice, if you're, I don't know, you want to use a photo for an ad, you have the choice between a costly photo and a cheaper one, and you don't really see the difference, and you will go for the cheaper because it's available. And that means that, cheaper if not free, by the way. So that means that the decline in revenues of some industries, the photo industry in particular, is not due to the existence of this platform, that platform. Just means it's just a result of people being empowered to share more and to decide to share more under the rules they decide. If you want to put things online for free, you mark your content as Creative Commons license, then you compete against all the industries that produce the same content for a fee. That is a big change. So the photo industry is a good case study because you've seen a decline, and many think that the decline was due to the fact that phone cameras, cameras with phones, actually competed against the old Kodak and Nikon cameras. It's just part of the story. Is that yes, you have a phone, you have a camera on your phone, but also you're using it and you share it, in a way that competes with their content and their business. And so one way to put it is this. You know, they're all beautiful photos made by the iPhone. I should have changed this because Google produces the Pixel, and this is the best camera on the market because it's powered by artificial intelligence. I shouldn't have mentioned the iPhone, but you get the idea. So movies shot on iPhone, photos shot on iPhone. And you know, sometimes on news on TV, you can see, you know, excerpts of YouTube videos being used in news and of good quality, etc. So it's it. It's the combination of good technology in your pocket and the power of the internet and data servers that allow, you know, the sharing of content that is of a high quality. And this content of high quality, again, competes with the industry's content. Look at this graph. It's the number of photos uploaded to the most important social media platforms every day. So in 2015, it's the last figure I had, it was 3 billion photos uploaded every day. 3 billion. So that's, you know, it's an ocean compared to the drops produced by press publishers, photo reporters, etc. Not all this content is available for free, or should be shared without a fee. But if it is, again, the gap between content that is free to use or free to share and the rest is important. How important? These are the last stats for the Creative Commons Foundation, and it shows an increase in the number of works that are freely available. So here it's people who know enough about copyright law to know that when they put something online, it will be impossible for others to use because copyright law prevents anyone from using someone else's content without permission. So when they post something online, a photo, a video, a blog post, etc., they will mark it with a CC, with a Creative Commons license, and say, well, it's yours, please take it. And the number of works and the number of people doing this increases every year. And now you have 1.4 billion works freely available, truly freely available. 1.4 billion is a lot, again. So it means that if you're, again, if you're looking for content to buy, why would you buy this content? If you can get the same for nothing. Here's a photo I took of the box, my internet box I received a few months ago. And this is the package, and they're not really visible. The photos on the package are CC licensed. In other words, this is a company that used to buy photos. It doesn't buy photos anymore. It just grabs them on the internet. And copyright law allows this. But that's the difference in the market. So think of it, when you think of the decline in revenues of the industry, it's primarily due to competition. That content is everywhere to grab, and so that's why people are doing it. So that's the difference. People used to select one newspaper and would read it on their way to work. Now what are people doing when they commute to work? Just look their phone, and they can access not just one paper, but many. But they can also look at their Facebook timeline. They can also read blog posts. So that's the big difference. You were captured in one space, and you were buying the content of one, and now you can get access to all the content that's being streamed online, not just press content, by the way, but everything. So this is one of the challenges here, right? It's one of the questions of how do we solve this? Is it for the law to solve that? Or is it for the market to think differently? So again, a lot of authors I'm meeting in my work, they say that internet is the source of piracy. Since the internet became popular, they see the revenue decrease. Same for producers I'm talking to. Is it really due to the fact that there's piracy, or is it simply due to the fact that there's just all the forms of content that people are looking at, getting access to, legally speaking? Okay, so the problem, is it copyright infringement, or is it a market problem? Also, the music industry, and I think we will discuss about this afterwards. The music industry says that the decline in revenues. But there's more artists than ever. There are YouTubers who make music, and young people would prefer to listen to the YouTubers rather than buy CDs of, CDs. What is a CD? Buy albums of older artists. So that is also, the new world we're in. How do we address this? Overall, there's more money. There's more money because there's more creators and there are more ways to access it. The difference is that there are more people who create. And so you have a bigger pie, but you also have many more shares. So the revenue overall is increasing. It's just divided between more. And I think this beauty of the internet is more democratic. But still, this is not always recognized. And the other thing is that because there's so much content, the real value is not in the creation of the content, but it's much more in how you organize it, how you make people empowered to access it, etc. So the value moves from the content to the service around the content. The value of Flickr, Flickr is a photo repository. Flickr is mostly populated by Creative Commons licenses. So it's people who like to share for free. But still, Flickr has a value because it provides a place for photo lovers. And the value will be derived from different services that are attached to the content. It's this. It's the difference in approach. So maybe it's not a question of property, not a question of copyright law, but much more, what do we do from the basis of existing copyright laws to actually make sure copyright law fulfills its goal, which is to make sure people are rewarded, authors are compensated. That's the other question here. So it's this, if the Hollywood industry, if a cat video competes with a Hollywood movie, with a Hollywood blockbuster, it means that maybe Hollywood movies also need to be on YouTube, for example, or need to be where the eyeballs are and not just in theaters. Maybe, we need to think differently on how distribution of content is being made, much more than, solving piracy problems or things like this. So, there's more content, more works, more platforms, more users, more money, divided by more people. We really think that overall the internet is good for creation and good for copyright law. In other words, we think that there's more value with the internet than trying to control it through copyright laws, and that the existence of platforms enables YouTubers, for example, to thrive and be visible, etc. So we think that overall, the internet is good because it helps creativity, it helps competent authors, it gives global audiences to small creators, etc., etc. So you can thrive in a world of more, it's just more complicated. The market for access to works is global, and when the thinking, the mindset in copyright is often territorial. So you see this, you see that recently studios created their own distribution platforms. You see that music producers such as Sony and Universal, they're buying shares in Deezer, for example. Deezer is the one of the leading European services, and not in Deezer, sorry, it's Spotify. So it's this, the industry realizes that the value is not, or is not just in the creation of works, in the investment of works, but also in investment in distribution. And that is one of the challenges of the internet, realizing that it is mostly a distribution channel and that you have to be good at distributing. Content is there, the works are there, and there are millions, billions. The question is really, how do you make sure the content is being paid for by the person you want to have, you want them to pay for, etc. So this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So at Google, we have different services that we think are helpful for creators, creation, and that overall technology is good. Because when you have technology that can be used by anyone to create, there's more, and there's more creativity than ever, and overall it's good to see people create. And also, we think that technology is one of the ways to solve copyright challenges. And I will stop there, Dušan, because I think this is the starting point for your questions and the questions of the audience.
Okay, if you like, we can stop, but...
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for... Thank you for this very insightful and passionate presentation. We are actually going to use the remaining time to engage into dialogue with our guest. I will start by asking several questions, and then the floor is yours. We have also received some questions by email, as it was announced in our program. You have probably noticed that Sedrik avoided to speak about the EU Copyright Law Directive, but actually I'm being a little harsh on him. He was not avoiding it. I was telling him to avoid the topic because I was going to ask the question. So of course we should discuss the newly adopted EU directive on copyright in the digital single market. As you know, the member states now have 2 years to implement it, so we will see what is this going to give us. But one is sure, is that we are going to have a more complex environment for companies like Google to work in, because once again the European Union has chosen a directive, meaning that we will end up with 28 slightly different legal regimes. Speaking about the copyright directive, I would like to hear your comment on the newly introduced press publishers' right. We have been following the discussion here, as we are very much interested in Serbia in what is going on in the EU law, given the fact that we are aspiring to join the Union and we are a candidate country. And sooner and later our copyright law is going to be harmonized with the directive itself. So Google was very critical of on the introduction of this new press publishers' rights. There was a kind of for me, a strange coalition between, on the one hand, Google and on the other hand, organizations fighting for human rights and freedom of the internet, let's put it that way. But this argument actually against the introduction of the press publishers' rights was supported by a lot of IP law professors in Europe. There was an open letter sent by 228 IP and IT law professors to the European Parliament in 2018, and I also signed that petition. So just to allow me a personal comment. We actually didn't achieve anything, so this is just another occasion for me to realize that law professors are not influencing the legislative procedure anywhere, not only here. But I was a bit surprised to see that actually Google didn't achieve anything, so we ended up with the new press publishers' rights. So could you please comment on that and remind us of Google's arguments against the introduction of that right?
Yes, there are many things in your question. How much time? I think it's an
You
oral
have
exam
time.
here.
Yeah.
So how much time do you have?
You do have time, so.
So just a comment on when you said that there was a strange coalition
Yeah, I've seen you change
between.
the face, yes.
There's been many voices against the press publishers' right, and I think academics were more vocal than we were. But it's not just academics and Google, and it was also consumer associations, small publishers, because small publishers hate the right that will, primarily benefit large publishers. I will get back to that in a minute, and also startups. So it was really, the ecosystem that were against the introduction of this new special property right for press publishers. So it's not just Google. So typically this battle is being described as the battle between news publishers and Google. Actually, it's a battle about the internet and how content should be shared freely or not by anyone, and not just by Google. And let me get there, because there's a reason why we oppose the right. So this right is new in the directive. The directive was adopted in April. And April 2019, the first form of press publisher right we saw was in 2013 in Germany. I joined Google on July 1st, 2013. The law in Germany entered into force on August 1st there. So it's really my life at Google, my life as a copyright lawyer at Google is really, overlapping with the existence of the news publisher's right. So Germany, in 2013, to protect press publishers, introduced this, what we call ancillary copyright, neighboring right for press publishers. We were indexing the content, the articles of the press publishers. Let me open a bracket here. We were indexing the content of press publishers that accepted to be indexed. If you don't want to be on Google search, if you don't want to be on Google News, it's really easy. You just need to put something in the code of your page, of your website, and we don't index you. So publishers are in control. If they don't want to be in Google, or if they want their website to be on Google, or just a page, or a part of the site, they can always do this. To index, you need to have a bot, a robot, that looks at the pages, and if in the code of the page is written, no, bot, you cannot index, then the bot cannot index. It's as simple as this. So this has been the basis upon which indexation has been working. So we had an index built until 2013 based on the consent of the websites around the world, including news publishers' websites. When the new right was introduced in Germany in August 2013, we realized we didn't have the right to index because we needed to have another new consent. Okay? That's how IP law works. That's very important to understand here because first, we comply with the law. We respect copyright. Google is not an enemy of copyright, contrary to what I read in the press. Google is not an enemy of copyright. So here, when press publishers were granted a new right, we took it into account and we reached out to all 5,000 titles that were back then indexed in Google News in Germany to say, look, you might be legally entitled to object to indexation. Are you okay with us keeping on showing your content? 5,000 titles, okay? We reach out to the titles were in our index. 2,000 did not answer. Why? Because maybe we wrote in German and they didn't understand, or maybe they just didn't understand the legal question, or maybe they didn't read the email, or it went to spam, I don't know. But we lost 2,000, not the major titles, but we lost 2,000 out of 5,000. That is the first effect of the introduction of a right in the internet ecosystem. You lose the long tail. And when I saw that originally in the 2016 directive, the justification for the press publishers' right was diversity of journalism, no, it's not for diversity. Because the first impact this right had was to make invisible 2,000 titles. So this is very important here. We introduce a new parameter, a new legal element indexation. You know, we at Google, we want our indexes to be as exhaustive as possible. Here, it shrinked the index and it prevented our users from accessing titles they wouldn't otherwise know. It's not the large titles such as Bild or Zeitung in Germany that disappeared. It's most niche blogs or things like this. They disappeared because of the action we had to take based on that. We did that. We have lawyers. All the smaller aggregators in Germany, they shut down because they didn't know how to do this. So that's another impact, negative impact. It's just the beginning of a story here. Fast forward to October. So we were in August 2013. In October 2013, the collecting society, VG Media, it's a German collecting society, wrote to us a nice cease and desist letter saying, well, you indexed 200 of the titles of our members. We want you to remove these titles from your index. So they had said yes when in August we said, do you confirm you still want to be in index? But in October, about this, you know, they change ideas, say, well, you want to remove, okay, you know, again, we comply with the law. So because they said that, we don't want to be in the index, we removed them altogether, 200 titles. Immediately, there's been a drop in the traffic to these sites, a big drop. So they lost advertising revenues because they lost traffic. In a month, Google is sending about 10 billion clicks to press publishers worldwide. So I think that here, you know, the decision to remove hit hard on the publishers. But again, it was in response to their will to be excluded from the index. After 15 days, they wrote back and said, no, we want to be in the index. And I'm saying this because it's very important to understand that it's not a battle between Google on one hand and press publishers. I think it shows that it's really a win-win situation. We succeed when press publishers succeed. We're happy to provide more access to more content. At the same time, press publishers, they need to have entry points, and Google search engine is one of them. There are many more. You know, Facebook, etc. There's also a source of traffic. But still, it shows that this is a win-win situation. It's a symbiotic relationship between Google and the ecosystem. Okay? So it's important to keep this in mind because there's never been any intent from us to derive revenues from press publishers. You know, if you see press content in snippets in Google search, there's no ads next to it. We don't place ads next to press content, never. Okay, so we don't make money from press content, contrary to what I hear. So from there, one important thing is that after that, the collecting society, VG Media, decided to go to the competition authority to say, well, we had no choice but to write you back to be re-indexed, okay? Because you removed us, we had to ask for re-inclusion, but actually you forced us. You're a dominant company. And interestingly here, the competition authority, and that was confirmed later in appeal, the two decisions said that there was a good win-win situation. Win-win is really in the decision. It was a good win-win situation between Google and the press publishers, and the introduction of the press publishers' right actually disrupted that. Was troublemaker. And I think it's important because a lot of the lobbying we saw in the press publishers context was based on emotion or, you know, prospective figures. The competition authority in Germany really looked at the figures, really looked at the impact on the market, and found that, no, it's okay not to take licenses. You can never be forced to take licenses, and it was our decision. It's okay to do what we did, and ultimately, the problem came from the press, the introduction of the press publisher right, rather than what Google did. In Spain, there's been something similar. In Spain, we decided to shut down Google News. The law was a bit different. The competition authority there issued a report to say that the introduction of press publisher right was actually a barrier to entry to small publishers. Because here, we completely shut down Google News. So for a moment, traffic to all press decreased, and after a while, what did users do? They went to El País because it's a big brand, and they only went to El País, but not to smaller press publishers. And so here, there's been an imbalance in competition because only some were winners, and that's actually the reason why small publishers oppose the title. Last thing about it, I told you the justification for the press publishers' right originally was diversity of journalism. Over the different versions of directive, if you look at the most recent one, it's quality journalism, quality. So let's speak of quality. Are there any journalists here?
I assume. Yeah.
Okay. So, as Dušan knows, and all IP lawyers in the room know, copyright laws are there to reward creative content, something that's creative. If you look at the press publisher's right, it's there to reward investment. So whatever you produce, and I use the word produce purposefully, will be protected. So that incentive to produce more, but not to produce quality. That, I would say, is the direct result of the wording of the law. But there's another problem about quality. I told you, in Germany, we lost 2,000 titles out of 5,000, about 5,000 we had back then. What would happen today if we have this, press publisher right at the European level? If there's the same proportion of sites that say, well, I don't want to be an index anymore. Okay, what do? We keep indexing the order. What does it mean for not just the diversity and pluralism of sources, but also for the question of quality? We index the world, we index the web, we index everything, including fake news. There are things that are fake or ideologically driven news. So let's say you have, on one hand, Russia Today and Sputnik, paid by the Russian state to provide news from a certain perspective. And on the other hand, you have impartial press. The press publishers' right is introduced. The press publishers on my right, who do their job well, they would say, no, we don't want to be in the index anymore. We don't want to be indexed because we have a right to prevent you from doing so. The other here, that the goal is propaganda. It's not just providing news. They want the content to be disseminated. They want it. So they will accept the content to be disseminated for free. So there will be different strategies. Some will want payment. Some will say, okay, we give you a free license. What does it mean ultimately? It means that when you put a price tag on information on the internet, the information that is free circulates more widely and circulates better than quality information. So this is really important to see here. We are not opposed to the press publisher's right because we oppose copyright. We just based our analysis on data and on experience. It's been 6 years, almost 6 years that the law exists in Germany. It's completely useless. It doesn't work. It didn't provide a single euro to anyone except our lawyers. So it doesn't work. And why would you want to replicate at European level something that doesn't work in Germany? Why? You said you were not successful to convince this. We were not successful neither. And that is the intriguing world of power and lawmaking. It's not because you have the right argument that you succeed.
Yes, but at least there is a shorter duration of that right in the final text that was adopted, only 2 years, compared to 20 years initially proposed by the European Commission. So there There was
no,
some.
it was 1 year in the beginning.
There was.
It became 20 year in the parliament.
Oh,
It was 1 year.
but the lobbying was successful. I'm not saying Google's lobbying, but the lobbying of all that were against the introduction of that right were to some extent successful. But we'll see what the future will give us in the next 2 years. I would like us to remain on the topic of the Digital Single Market Directive. So I think that the audience is more interested in the safe harbor rules than in the press publisher's rights. I think everybody has been discussing the new safe harbor rules, which will be applicable only to copyright infringements. So we are now in an environment where the old safe harbor rules under the Electronic Commerce Directive remain applicable to other type of infringements but copyright, and we have new safe harbor rules applicable only to copyright. You're going to deal with this. I know that you cannot comment on how Google is going to adapt to this in the future, but could you share your thoughts on this new regime, which is stricter, I would say, and more complex for you, for YouTube and similar services to comply with?
Yes, I will try to make this shorter than a previous answer. But yes, you said the for you it's clear the articulation between the e-commerce directive and the new directive on copyright. The rules of copyright prevail. Actually, when you read, the recitals and the text, it's unclear exactly how the e-commerce directive and the Article 17 should be combined. So I think there's still an open question as to what extent the safe harbors remain preserved or not. But actually, I wanted to use this to introduce the answer, because the main problem we are having, and actually I think everyone in the industry is having, is to really understand what that provision means. And the problem is, how do you work on the basis of a text that is uncertain, that a text that has vague new standards, untested requirements? So we are lawyers here, I guess most of us. And so you would love to have legal certainty. We don't have it. We don't have it in the text, okay? We have a history at Google of dealing with uncertainty. We launch services that don't exist. Search engine, for example. There was not a single mention of search engines in legislation for years. So it's not the problem here. It's the combination of uncertainty with a different approach to liability. Okay? We are seeing every minute 500 hours of video uploaded to YouTube. And we don't control that. We have no idea what you are doing. But now what we know is that we can be liable for what goes to our platform. So what should be our approach? In other words, the difference is that we know we are liable not when we are given notice that something is infringing copyright, as exists in the current regime in EU law, in US law, but we know we're liable under different conditions. And the liability may be triggered earlier than today with a notice and takedown regime. So what do we do with that? What should be our approach? Okay, we take down everything where we're not sure. Should we do this? We leave everything because, we think it's our mission to give a voice to everyone. Maybe we should do it because there's a European Court of Human Rights decision that clearly shows that YouTube is a speech engine and that it protects everyone's freedom and there's language on freedoms in the provision. So, from the extreme of blocking everything except when it's licensed and leaving everything online, there are many different options here. And so this is, I think, where we are, to answer your question, is this is a directive, and states have to transpose and give flesh and blood to this provision. So the real answer will depend on how strong or severe the transposition is. The other thing is we know that so there's an implied reference in Article 17 to content recognition technologies. The idea that whenever you upload something, if there's music in the background, we have the capacity, we developed at YouTube the capacity to recognize the music with a technology called Content ID. So we work with partners around the world. See my slide, technology can solve copyright issues. So 9,000 partners have brought to us 85,000 reference files. So it's the file of music or videos they own, and they want us to recognize the content. We have this, okay? By the way, it's costly to develop, so that's a problem for all the non-YouTube companies. But what we mean here is that that's just 85 million with 9,000 partners. So we have the capacity to prevent copyright infringement for these works, but the rest. Now, how do we work with something beyond music, beyond video? And that's the problem for YouTube and for everyone today which is impacted by Article 17. So when you combine this, again, the liability that changed together with the risk approach, what can you expect for platforms? Will they monitor and clear everything and they will look more like TVs? Or will they stay, something which is really closer to what they used to be? Everyone has a voice, like on YouTube. That is really the challenge we're going to live in. So I think this is the musings we're having, the challenges we're facing. So yes, we wanted to warn the legislator, the lawmaker, that they shouldn't be doing this. They should preserve the safe harbors. I'm not sure the text is the correct result of that. I'm concerned to see that, yes, we can be liable for anyone's illegal activities on our platforms. And so we'll try to find the best solution.
Thank you. While you were answering the question, I was thinking about something I think always when I read the new directive, meaning that preamble is very useful, but sometimes you think when you read it, when you realize that actually you don't find in the articles what you read in the preamble, and that's the problem. But this is actually the problem that the national legislator in the member states will going to face when transposing the text. And there are some terms used which are not the best one chosen, I would say, at least for my taste, like best effort, make best effort, what is the best effort, etc.
And that's just one of them. I told you, it's a full of vague standards and tested requirements. That's the problem is.
We'll now leave the topic of the Digital Single Market Directive. Perhaps some of you will go back here, but I would like to ask one question which corresponds to a question we received by email from our former master student Ognjen Uzelac. So both him and I would like to, for you to comment on the usual critique YouTube is exposed to, and that is something you briefly mentioned in your presentation, that YouTube is paying relatively small fees for music videos compared to streaming services. What is your position on that?
First, we pay. Now, this is very important because, this is a hosting platform where content is being uploaded by users, and our only duty under the law would be to remove when we receive notice. At YouTube, we decided to do differently. We decided to take licenses for the content to stay online. This was a business decision. Remember Justin Bieber, who was a YouTuber before being a big star, and he started being a star on YouTube by singing covers, by singing other songs. And so we realized that if we wanted other emerging stars to be spotted and to thrive online, we should protect their content, and that's why we proactively decided to take licenses. We don't have this obligation. We nevertheless decided to take licenses with music publishers at their rate. We don't fix the rates. They have a monopoly. So that's very important to keep in mind here. This debate is about YouTube and others, but actually it should be about non-YouTube platforms that don't pay anything. we do pay. That's the first point. The second thing is the fee you refer to, and I'd like to see figures, it's the fee paid by the intermediaries. You know, we have licenses with music producers, and then they share with their members, with their authors. You know, something might disappear in between. You know, it's not this. It's about users on YouTube, and it's the actual income of the creator. But there's a chain between that. Okay, never forget that. The third thing is the users you refer to are users paid for by ads, advertising. You know, that's the beauty of YouTube. You can access many things, and most of it is free. There's a VOD part on YouTube, and we have a paid for service now. But it means that we managed to create new revenue opportunities based on advertising where people would otherwise access this content for free, either on YouTube or elsewhere. You know, so we decided to create a revenue stream for this. And when you look at, you know, how the internet economy is thriving, it creates more and more billions every year. Then I see the figures yesterday or the day before. The revenues of the music industry should double in 5 years' time. You know, there's more uses of streaming. Some of the streaming is subscription-based, like Spotify, and other forms is people who would never pay for a subscription. You know, people who just use music 1 hour a month, where when you're a Spotify subscriber, you listen to music 50 hours a week, for example. People who go to YouTube, they don't have the same expectations. They wouldn't pay for music otherwise. So I think that overall these fees, or whatever you call them, are actually, you know, it comes on top of what all the internet services are bringing. So it's this that you have to keep in mind, is that the comparison between what people earn here and what people earn there is very different. Also recall that YouTube is a video sharing platform and not audio streaming. So in other words, the duration of videos can be longer than the duration of a music stream. So there's more opportunity to have ads, for example, on a music stream than on a music in the background of a long video, etc. So the post-stream comparison doesn't really make sense. Mm-hmm. So comparison doesn't make sense if you think of the nature of the service, the nature of the use, the purpose of the service, and how it is financed. Overall, I think that the real answer to the question is, what do authors get in exchange? They are being paid where they wouldn't otherwise be paid. I think this is really the answer to your question.
Thank you. I don't want to monopolize all the time, so the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and ask the question. Yes, please. Oh, sorry, I haven't. Yeah, but can you ask the question now?
Can you ask? I think you will tell it better.
Okay, then in the meantime, while I check the email, can somebody else ask the question? Don't be shy. I have been saying that we have excellent students and former students. Yes, we have one question here first.
So, Professor Manara, thank you for this presentation. My name is and since you mentioned that copyright is for everyone who has some creative content. So, just a second. Right now we are in, how I can say maybe fifth digital industry, something like that. They are mentioning that on the internet, and we speak all the time about artificial intelligence, about robots, about bioengineering, and so do you think that legal system needs to actually has a challenge, so need to be changed in the next 10 years? I mean, to follow all these topics.
It's a very broad question, but a very great one, because I think you pointed the finger to something I should have included in my presentation. I mentioned human-generated creations, where I think the question is really about computer-generated creations. And it's not just here. That, I mean, with artificial intelligence, we might land not in the age of multitude, but the age, of zillions of things, so of works. Not sure it should be called works, by the way. But I think the question really is about, what does it mean to have a world where most of the works that are most of the creations, or paintings, images, text, are not being produced by human, but by machines.
Yeah.
And so here it really questions, not copyright in general. Copyright is not for machines. Copyright is about human creation. So here it really questions the fate of creation tomorrow, the destiny of creation. And the answer here, and I think this is why your question was for the challenges to the legal system in general, the answer should be in copyright law. The answer should be really what the society wants to do with AI, with artificial intelligence in general. There are many challenges like those. I think, ultimately will be, when you have the chance to have machines do the work for you, it will be better for everyone, and this is really my belief. But you're right to make the link between the end of my presentation on the multitude and what's next. The next wave will probably be, you said the fifth digital industry, but the next wave will probably be machine-generated content, all forms of content. And what does that mean for society in general? I think this is the big question. I don't have an answer to provide.
I just thought, since we don't have the legal norms to follow all of that, or I think that, so do we need some new legal norms or new directives to follow all of that?
There was no legal norms for such change.
How the legal system will be changed, for example, in next 10 years?
Well, in general, we think we should not over-regulate innovation, because if you constrain innovation before it's being developed, then what's left for, innovation itself? You said, well, we need to proactively regulate this field. Our first engine was designed 20 years ago. Do you think we needed 21 years ago rules to regulate such engines? And if we had needed them, how we would write them? We have no idea what such engines would look like. Just show that there's been a lot of value, brought by such engines, and progressively they had such a social impact that things had to be corrected, and we made product changes to address that. So. In general, we don't think that the approach should be, to have preemptive, restrictive laws, and that innovation should thrive in a permissive environment, and then, together with lawmakers, change things when they don't work. I think this is a preferable approach.
Thank you. Before Professor Markovic asks his question, the question we had, your name is Nikola Cekic. Okay, I have your question. Please.
I will continue on YouTube and music. You told us that you are one of the platforms that even pays something for having music. Paying for music is an obligation. I'm aware of the fact that YouTube has made an endeavor to conclude the contracts with many collecting societies in the field of music, or with some of them. I know at least some of them in this region. Some of them have signed the contract, some of them didn't. I know the long period of negotiations you had with German Gamma, for example, and I think it was concluded successfully somehow. You never make the details public, of course, so nobody knows how much you paid to the others. And I think there is obviously enough reason to be a little bit suspicious about this practice. Do you have some comment on that?
Mm-hmm. First, a legal comment, because you're an esteemed professor, and I don't think you mean it when they say we use music. There's still an open question as to who's using music on our platform. The directive provides an answer. we communicate to the public. But this answer is still, and decided at the European level. There's a case pending before the Court of Justice in Peterson versus YouTube, which asks this very question. Does YouTube communicate work to the public, or is it the users? And this is very important just to comment on the first part of your question, which is, who should pay for music? We decided we should pay, I told you, because it was a business decision. Legally speaking, as of today, users decide what they want to put on platforms. They control what they put on platforms. They can remove it when they want. So if they decide what goes online, if they control it and can remove it, we cannot take action on this. So we believe that because they make the acts, the relevant copyright acts, and not us, they are the users and not us. Okay, so I don't want to provide a legal answer to your broad question on, who should pay for music, but this is just a comment on this. We provided a market decision. We provided a business decision to a more global problem, which is the use of music online and who should be considered. We respect music. We respect music deeply. That's the reason why when we had this negotiation with GEMA in Germany, we decided to block access to music videos on YouTube. We could have said, there was an injunction, so it's a big difference. But still, it showed that we wanted to say we really want to partner with the music industry. This deal with GEMA, like all the deals with collecting societies, as you pointed, is confidential. This has been a problem for us when we've been accused of not paying enough the music industry. In August last year, we were fed up with that. So we published a blog post where we said, we are committed to transparency. We invited all the music industry, all our partners, to waive confidentiality on the clauses they impose on us. We love transparency at YouTube. And we said, okay, waive confidentiality, allow us to show exactly, to say the word, exactly how much you pay GEMA, how much you pay others. This was welcomed with an astonishing silence. No one wants to disclose how much they make for us for the reason I was saying before. It's because not all the money we pay to YouTube goes to the collecting society members, for example, or I suspect this. So you're right to say you can be suspicious, but are you suspicious against the right intermediary?
Okay. First of all, I think when YouTube decides to conclude a contract with GEMA, for example, it implicitly says that it needs a license. It puts itself in the position of someone who is a user. I mean, persisting on this position that you're only an intermediary wouldn't bring you to any negotiations with any of these collecting societies. I mean, I understand that this is a not so clear position, and from the business perspective, I can understand that you are trying several approaches and so on. But definitely, I mean, if someone concludes a contract with a collecting society, he assumes the position of someone who needs their license and who needs to pay. I mean, that is how I see it. I understand that you have probably a slightly different position, but
yes, it's a business agreement we wanted to have with most of the actors in the music industry to make sure we have the best user experience. People love music. We want music to be on YouTube. Let's find a way to do it. How you qualify that, is it's a creative partnership we wanted to have. But again, we respect music, we love music, we want users to be able to access it. What it means in terms of law is probably what inspired the lawmaker here. They said, well, okay, now all platforms communicate. Okay? And this is a clear answer to a long-standing problem. Again, I'm expecting the outcome in Peterson to see whether or not we actually do this. Still, regardless of the outcome, we still want to partner with the music industry. I think this is really what should be reminded here. Thank you.
And thank you. And can the outcome in Peterson be different given the fact that, if I recall well, in the preamble of the directive, it is stated that the directive merely clarifies that the platforms communicate to the public. So apparently they do communicate to the public if the directive is only clarifying that.
So well, that goes back to my answer to you on 17. If you look at the Pirate Bay decision, for example, the CJU said, well, Pirate Bay communicates well to the public, but this was based only on the copyright directive and not based on both the copyright directive and the e-commerce directive. I think this case, Peterson, will provide the answer based on the combination of those two, which is the big unknown today.
Yeah.
How do we combine the two and which prevail over the others?
We have one question by email, but it's not copyright law related. I will translate it because I don't want to be accused of any censorship, but it is not copyright law related, it is more surveillance related. Mr. Nikola Cekic wants to know how does the voice algorithm works, because he was testing it, he was having a conversation with a friend also using Android, and 2 hours later he received sponsored ads related to the content of that voice conversation, if I'm translating well the question. So if you want to comment or not, because we clearly indicated that this is a copyright law discussion.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So it's always difficult to comment on specific cases, so because I don't have all the facts, I won't comment on the cases. Just so you know, it's very important for you and for all users of our services in the room to know that you're always in control. So if you think something strange happened, maybe it's a bug, maybe it's different, but you should check the settings. You know, you should check how we use or not the voice, how we activate it, and if you're uncomfortable with that, just turn it off. So maybe, you know, it's just that, but if you believe there's a link between, you know, this action, so an ad we triggered, and what you did 2 hours before, so either you can fully control the experience, you can prevent any use of your voice, and if you want to allow it because you find it's useful, then you can also we explain how our services work on our help center. Sometimes it's very detailed, but we are transparent. We're transparent. So we will explain that. So really, I cannot comment on your specific case, but I will encourage you to either make sure you remain in control by looking at the settings, or learn more about how our services work by looking at our, not the terms of use, the help center where we explain everything. Okay?
We have one question from that side, our former master student.
Well, actually still a
Still,
master student,
okay.
yeah. Hello. Is everything okay? Well, I believe it would be interesting to hear your personal opinion about a certain rule which has its origins in French law. Well, a rule that imposes the limitation of internet access to a person who has made copyright infringement multiple times. Well, as I said, this rule has its origins in France, and I know that some countries have followed this rule, like Republic of Korea and some other countries. Some of them have not. You cannot find a rule like this here in Serbia. Well, I would like to know, how do you personally feel about it? Do you feel like the punishment actually fits the crime in this case, since you work at Google? And how do you intuitively feel about this rule?
So I'm looking at the camera here because I just want to say that I always ask my personal opinion. Okay, so this is not Google speaking, it's a French person speaking, used to this system.
I remind you of the live streaming.
It's very important. So can we have a caption saying this is a personal opinion? So in the system you described, maybe for those who are not familiar, if you've been caught downloading illegal content from the internet, infringing content, you will receive an email saying, hey, this is what's bad. Then second time you're caught, you receive a notified letter, and third time you can get a fine or you can go to a court. Okay, it's called a 3 strikes system. If you look at the stats, about 5 million people have received an email in France. I think it's a 6 figures sum for the second phase, the notified letter, and about 100 people went to the third phase. Does it mean that actually when you've been caught, when you receive an email saying, hey, we know what you're doing here, you've been downloading Game of Thrones, you should not be doing it, people stop? No. Unfortunately, people stopped downloading. And what we've been seeing in France is the rise of streaming services, illegal streaming services. And so instead of having, French users downloading, they didn't change the practice. They just changed the source. So instead of getting the file, because getting the file can be identified, they just viewed it on a site that's illegal. So we have a lot of illegal streaming sites in France that are the direct result of that. So it questions how good this policy is, because you don't really address piracy here. You don't really educate people. You just educate them on how to circumvent the law, which is even worse, because it means my country is a country where we've raised an army of people who know how to infringe copyright, who are tech savvy, who know how to do this. So I don't think it's the right thing. We should really be fighting against the operators of the sites, those who steal movies and put them online, instead of looking at the wrong target. I'm saying education is important. We are copyright teachers, so we know how important education is, and maybe not just in university, but before. But I don't think that educating people by sending warnings worked in the context of France, right? So now what we're seeing is a different phase. It's because of the streaming sites. Now you have in France and elsewhere a lot of injunctions, that are being issued by courts against intermediaries to try to block access to that, try to block access to the streaming sites. The streaming sites are there just because, again, there's been a really narrow form of addressing the whole problem of piracy. The main problem is access to works. It's not that French don't want to pay. It's just that the content is not there. If Game of Thrones is being shown on HBO in English on a Sunday evening, French want to see the same content in their language at the same time. Otherwise, they will download it, in the hours that follow the show. So it's really a problem of legitimacy, access of an offer problem. It's the content exists. It's just that it's not being distributed by the right sources. It shouldn't be on illegal streaming sites. It should be on sites that are fully controlled by producers who have a global strategy to distribute the content. That would be the big difference. So I think the problem is not let's say a punishment or penalty problem. It's a market problem.
Thank you. We're quite behind the schedule, but I hope that you agree that we take 2 more questions.
But does the audience agree?
Yes. We have one down there.
So we've seen many interesting cases being, brought to Luxembourg in the past years. That's the result, of there was a long transposition phase of the 2000 directive. Then, when it was put in practice in different member states, and case went to court and up to the Supreme Court of national member states. And so now we are seeing the most interesting cases. Maybe too late because the legislator didn't want to wait. But we've seen a lot of interesting cases that question all techniques. I'm getting to your question on pending and future cases, but when you look at Svensson, Bestwater, GS Media, how could we be in 2014, 2016 questioning what the hyperlink is? This was an old battle. So that's interesting, is to see that the main questions that are being asked today are about old techniques that I would think are part of the infrastructure of the internet. So that's, linking is an important one. Safe harbors, there have been questions. So there's the Peterson case. There's another one called Brein versus NSE. It's a Dutch reference, which will also combine copyright law, the InfoSoc directive and the e-commerce directive. And it's a sort of complement to Peterson, together with Rapid Share, which in other case referred to by the German Supreme Court the day after Peterson, where basically, if you look at it, it's as if the German Supreme Court would have said, well, I want to know the CJU position on good actors, that's Peterson, and on bad actors, that's Rapid Share. So we have at least 3 cases, maybe more. You may have seen yesterday another important case that reached the AG, the Advocate General phase, that's a Facebook case. It's not about copyright, but it's still about the liability of intermediaries and the extent of their obligations. And I think this case is important because it has ties with our debate. First, because it's about the use of technologies to fight against something that's illegal. So according to the Advocate General, intermediaries can be expected to use technologies to detect identical content or content that's close to the illegal content. That's based on text. We don't know how to do this. We know how to recognize images and videos. We have the experience of doing this with Control ID on YouTube. For text, it's very difficult, if not impossible. So this question is, you see courts that trust technologies, when we, in the technology industry, we don't trust it. Well, we know how many bugs and how many flaws it has. We know there's a long road before we get to the point where we could have machines understand the law. Experts understand the law, not machines. Okay, that's very important to understand. Second thing in that decision is, to what extent what is being done in Europe in that decision, in that opinion, so should the development of a capacity to detect infringement be limited to Europe or be global? And I think this is also underlying in the question of Article 17 is, and I didn't touch that, but is, what are platforms expected to do when Article 17 enters into force, not just in the member state where the law is, where the directive is transposed, not just in Europe, but globally. So these cases are important not just for European law, but also for, they define what the internet of tomorrow could be. So there will be others. We're expecting a decision in VG Media. VG Media is the collecting society I mentioned earlier, on whether or not the German law should have been notified to the European Commission as part of it's not a copyright problem, it's much more EU law problem, that you must notify a regulation that's likely to affect circulation of services in a member state. So we are seeing now important questions that will be decided by CJU, and they answer to questions that lawmakers try to address in the directive on copyright. It would be interesting to see the dialogue between the CJU and the text. I refer to NSE, to Brein versus NSE, the judge reference. The reference comes from a proposal of the Advocate General of the Dutch Supreme Court, where he said, well, I'm looking at Article 14 of the e-commerce directive on safe harbors. I'm looking at what was then called Article 13 of the directive, which became 17. I don't understand anything anymore. I'm puzzled. I don't understand what lawmakers are proposing and what they say the law should be clarified, etc. So that's one of the reasons he asked the question. We wanted the court to ask a question. So I think that we really, your question highlights the fact that we really entered uncharted territories. We will have to navigate an environment where a court decision, a paragraph in a court decision might affect compliance on 17 on platforms, etc. It will be difficult for everyone. It will be good for IT lawyers. So good for you.
Thank you. We have time for one last quick question. Yes, please.
Hello, thank you for your lecture. I'm Stefan Bojovic, attorney at law from Belgrade, Serbia. My question is related to takedown notices policies over Google platforms. In particular, what is the level of discrecy that you have in responding to takedown notices in cases which are not, identical content, but in borderline cases where you have derivative works, just some small fragments of works which are incorporated in some works, and what is the level of discretion that you have when you respond to such takedown notices?
Thank you.
So we have many platforms, as you said. So do you have any specific platform in mind?
Well, in particular, I would probably refer to YouTube.
Okay. So, well, copyright law is complex. And ideally, we like it to be, easy to understand and identical everywhere, so that, we make decisions that are consistent, coherent. So your question is actually, about your question is the question each single reviewer asks himself or herself every time we are being asked to review a takedown. Should we take down or not? Is it fair use? Is it an acceptable derivative work? Is it protective exception? This is a question that is really hard to address for each single case. The problem we have is that we have to make a decision quickly, because in the current notice and takedown system, if we don't act swiftly, we become liable. So as soon as we look at the content, the clock is ticking. That's a number of problem. And that's why I was saying earlier in response to Dušan that the problem now is that we have to make decisions even before the content goes online. And so that is really, it's a question that's still unsolved, how you can properly address removal content. So we know we can make mistakes. It's human. And we also that we can even make more mistakes because we have to take time. Courts, we cannot take time, where courts, for example, would. So we put in place an appeal mechanism so that you can you can say to YouTube that, hey, maybe the content you took down here should not have been taken down. Okay, so that's a way to say, okay, let's look at it again. Okay, so that's a way to correct the mistakes we make. But at the scale at which we operate, just for Google search, I'm not speaking of YouTube here, on Google search we receive 1 billion, with a B, 1 billion notices a year. So, we can make mistakes. So, and actually those who send the notices can make mistakes too. So they can flag things that are legal. So that's, it's a problem of application of notice and takedown in practice. And from me to you, if I had been the lawmaker, this is the problem I would have addressed. Not, finding a new provision that no one understands, but really fix the problem of notice and takedown and make sure what is legal disappears from the web and what legal is protected on the web. That, to me, is way more important than, Right, compensation of others is very important, but still, it's something that's also worth addressing. It's not being addressed.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we have to stop now. We will make a 15-minute break before we continue with the next session, which will be in Serbian. So I would like to thank once again Dr. Sedrik Manara for having accepted the invitation to come to Serbia. It was really a privilege to have you here and to follow both your presentation and the answers to the questions. So let's continue the discussion during the break.
Čast da predsedavam drugim delom ove mini konferencije. Mi ćemo se sad u ovom drugom delu baviti sistemom naziva internet domena u prethodnoj godini, tako da, pošto budemo čuli dva referata i ukoliko nam ostane nešto malo vremena, možete eventualno postaviti neko pitanje ili dati neki komentar. Sve u svemu nemamo puno vremena, tako da molim i referente, a i vas koji budete učestvovali u diskusiji da budete najkraći mogući. Sad, pozivam našu koleginicu sa Pravnog fakulteta Univerziteta u Novom Sadu, profesorku Sanju Radovanović, da nam izloži svoj rad praksa Komisije za rešavanje sporova povodom registracije naziva internet domena u prethodnoj godini. Izvolite.
Zahvaljujem se. Ja ipak moram prvo da izrazim zadovoljstvo što sam ponovo ovde, sada već 5. godina i mogu da kažem da je ovo tradicionalno okupljanje u kojem ja posebno uživam zato što se osjećam kao kod kuće, s obzirom na to da je Beogradski pravni fakultet u ovoj oblasti zaista učinio mnogo toga da iz godine u godinu bude sve više mladih i novih interesanata za oblast intelektualne svojine, a i internet domena koji su tema ovih skupova. Tema mog izlaganja danas jeste zapravo pregled prakse Komisije za rešavanje sporova povodom naziva nacionalnih internet domena u prethodnoj godini i s obzirom na to da je vreme izlaganja kratko, ja nisam želela da slučaj po slučaj vama izlažem, nego ono što bismo mogli smatrati najrelevantnijim, pa možda čak i nekim smernicama za neke buduće slučajeve koji se budu pred komisijom vodili. Ukratko samo šta je zapravo predmet tih postupaka pred komisijom. Predmet postupaka jesu zapravo nacionalni domeni, znači RS i Srb, i u onim slučajevima kada zapravo je naziv domena istovetan ili bitno sličan žigu. Naravno, žig kao subjektivno pravo ne obuhvata i pravo da se registruje internet domen takav kakav jeste. Iz tih razloga naravno može da nastane problem u onim situacijama kada registrovani internet domen na određeni način privlači mušterije ili na drugi način se koristi žig, odnosno oznaka titulara žiga. Najpre da izrazimo praksu u prethodnoj godini u brojevima. Ako ovo radi, a trebalo bi da da. Hvala, kolega. U prethodnoj godini, kad kažemo prethodnu godinu, mi smo na kalendarsku godinu, vođeno je svega 5 postupaka. Ja kažem svega 5 zato što obično očekujemo neki intenzitet tih rešavanja postupaka, međutim, to je ipak, uslovno rečeno, čak i veliki broj, s obzirom na to da takvih postupaka u sudovima, mislim, ima čak i mnogo manje. Svih 5 odluka koje su donesene u okviru komisije nalaze se na sajtu. Ovde je naveden tačan sajt, ali se svakako može naći na stranicama RNIDS-a. U brojevima možemo da kažemo da od tužioca javljaju nam se 3 domaća, 2 strana subjekta. Registranti su uglavnom fizička lica i 1 pravno. Od odluka, što je zanimljivo, 4 usvajajuća i 1 odbijajuća, što znači da je zadržan internet domen kod registranta. Od usmenih rasprava, iako to nije mnogo relevantno, ali pokazuje na određeni način volju registranta da se suprotstavlja zahtevu i da zadrži svoj domen. Samo jedanput je bila zakazana, ali se registrant nije pojavio. Toliko o tome. I potpuno pasivno držanje registranta samo u 1 slučaju. Kada komisija odlučuje o zahtevu za prenos po pravilu naziva internet domena, ima u vidu 3 kriterijuma, odnosno uslova koja moraju da budu kumulativno ispunjeni. Ja ih posebno navodim. Najpre da je nacionalni domen istovetan predmetu žiga ili da mu je sličan u meri da može da stvori zabunu u prometu i dovede učesnike u prometu u zabludu. Drugi uslov jeste da registrant nema pravo niti legitiman interes da taj domen koristi. I treći uslov jeste da je registrant nacionalni internet domen registrovao i koristio protivno načelu savesnosti, poštenja i dobrih poslovnih običaja. Ono što je relevantno jeste da ovi uslovi moraju da budu kumulativno ispunjeni. Dakle, svaki uslov od navedenih pred komisijom se posebno vrednuje i ukoliko je odgovor, naravno, na sva 3 vrednovanja pozitivan, odnosno da je uslov ispunjen, tek tada odluka može da bude usvajajuća. Kada je u pitanju prvi uslov, odnosno da je domen istovetan ili bitno sličan na žigu, on je u najvećem broju slučajeva ispunjen. Tačnije, u svim ovim koje smo do sada imali, jeste ispunjen. Ono što je zanimljivo jeste da se moment, odnosno taj uslov da je žig, da postoji žig, Ne uzima se trenutak kada je registrovan domen, nego se vrednuje spram trenutka kada je podnesena tužba, odnosno kada je pokrenut postupak pred komisijom. Zašto? Iz više razloga. Prvo, zato što tako i jezičkim tumačenjem se može doći do te interpretacije, a drugo, zato što već znamo da i prijava, zapravo prijava žiga povlači za sobom ista prava kao i sam žig kada je priznat i upisan. Najčešće ovo i nije uslov koji registranti osporavaju. Postoje samo jedan slučaj u kojem je osporavano, pri čemu su argumenti koje je registrant navodio bili toliko neubedljivi i neuverljivi da ja mislim da ni sam registrant u to nije verovao. Ticalo se recimo večernje ili vecernje, pa su isticali da je razlika u slovu č, što svakako ne možemo smatrati dovoljno različitim od registrovanog žiga. Drugi uslov jeste da registrant nema pravo niti legitiman interes da koristi sporni naziv internet domena. Na što bi se to pravo zapravo svodilo? Najčešće se može svoditi na neku poslovnu saradnju koja postoji između tužioca i registranta, pa je tužilac recimo, odnosno registrant može da bude distributer robe ili neko ko je ovlašćeni prodavac robe koja se označava zaštićenom oznakom. Legitiman interes ne mora da bude uopšte vezan za poslovnu saradnju sa titularem žiga. Imali smo jedan slučaj, odnosno to je jedini slučaj gde je tužba odbijena, tiče se Ada Mall, a legitiman interes zasnivao se na tome da je zapravo registrant bio administrator sajta koji je nosio naziv Ada Mall, to je sada aktualno, pošto vam je nedavno otvoren tržni centar Ada Mall. Žig je registrovan naknadno, dakle čak i nakon registracije naziva domena, što nije relevantno za ovaj slučaj. Može naravno da posluže kao pomoćni kriterijum u ocenu toga da li je savestan ili nije savestan, ali je smisao, odnosno ideja ili sadržina koja se uređuje na tom sajtu potpuno nekomercijalna i nepovezana sa nosiocem žiga Ada Mall. Legitiman interes su oni našli u tome što je Ada Mall zapravo bio alter ego jednog engleskog blogera koji se bavio pitanjima mode, odnosno kupovine najpovoljnijih centara za kupovinu i slično, a nipošto se nije obazirao na delatnost, niti je komercijalnog karaktera uopšte sajt, odnosno nije namenjen komercijalizaciji sadržaja i iz tih razloga je komisija utvrdila da je legitiman interes postojao. S druge strane, očigledno ispunjen uslov postoji onda kada je sajt potpuno neaktivan. Zašto? Ako je neko registrovao naziv domena, onda se podrazumeva da on sa tim domenom zapravo želi da se predstavi, uslovno rečeno, internet publici, da na neki način neki svoj interes ostvari, bilo komercijalni ili nekomercijalni. Ako ga ne koristi, onda možemo da izvučemo na posredan način čak i zaključak da se može raditi o cyberspottingu, gde on zapravo sebe stavlja u poziciju pregovarača sa titularem žiga kako bi za određeni novčani iznos mogao da ponudi prenos domena. Ja se izvijem, sam otišla jedan sajt i nisam. Da je registrant nacionalni internet domen registrovao i koristio načelu savesnosti, poštenja i dobrih poslovnih običaja. Ja sad moram da kažem neko svoje lično mišljenje o ovome. Mislim da je ovo najsporniji uslov. O čemu se radi? Najpre tiče se kumulacije uslova i da je nesavestan prilikom registracije i da je nesavestan u korišćenju. To bi faktički značilo, a što jeste zapravo najveći problem, da kada je savestan prilikom registracije, to znači da je dobio saglasnost ili da postoji neki vid poslovne saradnje, odnosno da je dobio saglasnost od titulara žiga da registruje naziv domena, i u kasnijem momentu počne nesavesno da ga koristi, interpretacijom jezičkom ove odredbe pravilnika dolazimo do toga da uslov zapravo nije zadovoljen. A u praksi se to vrlo često i dešava. O čemu se radi? Imali smo primjer na prethodnoj strani, kada je postojala poslovna saradnja, pa je ta poslovna saradnja naknadno prekinuta. Registrant je obnovio važenje, odnosno obnovio registraciju, poslovne saradnje više nema, a domen i dalje ostaje kod njega. Tako da tu savesnost zapravo treba interpretirati na način da služi svrsi tog ugovora, što je komisija u tom konkretnom slučaju i učinila. Ako je saglasnost bila vezana, odnosno cilj je bio poslovna saradnja i ispunjavanje ugovornih obaveza, onda i prestanak tog razloga, cilja, motiva koji je tužioca inspirisao da saglasnost da, treba možda uzeti u obzir pre nego što se odluči o tome da je formalno u datom momentu saglasnost postojala. Dakle, formalno prisustvo saglasnosti nije dovoljno da bi se ocenilo da je ta saglasnost zaista, odnosno da je strana savesna, pa samim ti se onda i ne postavlja pitanje savesnog ili nesavesnog korišćenja, budući da kumulativni uslovi moraju biti ispunjeni. Nadam se da ovim nisam predviđeni termin izlaganja o praksi premašila i zahvaljujem se na pažnji.
Hvala, Sanja. Ne da niste, nego ste se perfektno uklopili u ovaj naš raspored. Sada molim kolegu Marka Jovanovića, docenta na Pravnom fakultetu Univerziteta u Beogradu, da nam kaže nešto o pojedinim spornim procesno-pravnim pitanjima u postupku rešavanja domenskih sporova. Izvolite.
Hvala vam, profesore Markoviću. Kao i profesor Radovanović, i meni je velika čast što sam jedan od stalnih učesnika ovih susreta, tako da ću i ove godine pokušati da opravdam očekivanja koje su organizatori skupa pred mene postavili. Moj zadatak je da govorim o pojedinim spornim procesno-pravnim pitanjima u postupku rešavanja domenskih sporova. Kada bi se ovaj naš razgovor dešavao koji mesec kasnije, mislim da bi plan mog izlaganja bio mnogo bogatiji i mnogo interesantniji, jer u nekoliko predmeta koji su sada u toku će se dosta spornih procesno-pravnih pitanja javiti o kojima ćemo moći da vodimo lepe diskusije kada se ti postupci budu završili. Pošto to još uvek nije slučaj, ja sam rešio da se za ovaj put opredelim za dve teme. Prva je vezana za učešće stranaca u postupku rešavanja domenskih sporova, jer smo u prepodnevnoj sesiji govorili o ovom prekograničnom elementu u pitanjima kojima se bavimo, dok sam se za drugu temu opredelio za uvek kontroverzno pitanje odnosa postupaka pred Komisijom za rešavanje domenskih sporova i sudske zaštite u ovim stvarima. Krenimo sa prvom temom. Dakle, učešće stranaca u postupku rešavanja domenskih sporova pred Komisijom. Gde je zapravo prostor? Odakle dolazi mogućnost da stranac bude učesnik u ovom postupku rešavanja sporova? Stranac može biti tužilac, stranac može biti registrant, dakle može biti tuženi, može se eventualno pojaviti kao svedok u postupku. Postoje dve procesne uloge koje stranci ne mogu da ispunjavaju, gde stranci ne mogu da se nađu prema našem pravilniku, a to je da ne mogu da budu zastupnici u postupku, jer naš pravilnik traži da zastupnik bude državljanin Republike Srbije sa prebivalištem u Republici Srbiji i isto tako ne mogu da budu arbitri, jer i za arbitre postoji istovetan uslov državljanstva i prebivališta u Republici Srbiji. Ali što se tiče ovih ostalih uloga, dakle tužioca tuženog, eventualno svedoka, postoji prostor za učešće stranaca. To nam otvara pojedina potencijalno sporna pitanja. Jedno od njih može da bude pitanje dostavljanja, koje može da bude delikatno kako zbog toga što bi nekada bilo problematično utvrditi adresu stranca ukoliko bi se dostavljanje obavljalo poštanskim putem, i zbog vremena i metoda kojim bi dostavljanje trebalo da se vrši. Srećom, od kako smo izmenili naš pravilnik u pravcu toga da se dostavljanje vrši isključivo elektronskim putem, pitanje dostavljanja više nije izvor kontroverzi kada se govori o učešću stranca u postupku. Dakle, ono ne zahteva ni pitanje određivanja posebnog načina dostavljanja, ni određivanje posebnog vremena, utroška novca koje bi na to išlo. Dakle, dostavljanje strancima se sada dešava na isti način kao što bi se dešavalo i u istom vremenu i sa istim troškovima kao što bi se dešavalo i domaćim državljanima. Međutim, ono što ostaje kao potencijalni problem jeste pitanje jezika. Član 21 našeg pravilnika, koji vidite na slajdu, kaže da se postupak za rešavanje sporova vodi na srpskom jeziku. Jezik postupka primenjuje se na sve pismene izjave stranaka, usmenu raspravu, odluke i druge akte arbitražnog veća. Šta ovde mogu da budu potencijalni problemi? Prvo je to da li je ova odredba, uslovno rečeno, imperativna. Drugim rečima, da li bi stranke mogle da se dogovore da promene jezik postupka. Ako pođemo od jezičkog tumačenja, ja bih rekao da teško da ovde postoji mogućnost za derogaciju. Dakle, odredba je prilično imperativna, dakle, postupak za rešavanje se vodi na srpskom jeziku. U prilog zaključku da ovu odredbu nije moguće derogirati sporazumom stranaka govori jedan posredni argument. Što se tiče samog jezika postupka, on utiče i na kriterijume za izbor arbitara. Član pravilnika koji govori o kvalifikacijama koje arbitri moraju da ispune, ni u jednom delu ne pominje njihove jezičke kompetencije. Dakle, od arbitara se traži stručnost u samoj materiji koja je predmet spora, ali se ne traži poznavanje posebnih jezika. Dakle, ukoliko bi stranke ugovorile primjenu nekog drugog jezika, to bi onda moglo da dovede u problem čitav postupak rešavanja sporova. To onda ostavlja zadatak da ukoliko bi stranac želeo da govori na stranom jeziku u postupku, moralo bi da se obezbedi prevođenje za tog stranca. To sa druge strane otvara problem troškova takvog prevođenja i pitanje toga ko snosi dužnost organizacije takvog prevođenja. Mi nemamo eksplicitno rešenje u pravilniku za ovakvu situaciju, ali ako bismo ga sistemski tumačili, ispalo bi da ona strana koju je u interesu da stranac govori na stranom jeziku je dužna i da organizaciono obezbedi samo prevođenje, kao i da snosi troškove tog prevođenja. Može se postavi pitanje da li bi prevođenje morao nužno da obavlja sudski prevodilac, u smislu pravilnika o sudskim prevodiocima i tumačima. Da se nalazimo u zoni sudskog postupka, ovde bi odgovor bio sasvim jasan i bio bi potvrdan. Međutim, s obzirom na to da govorimo o alternativnom načinu rešavanja sporova, govoreći čisto iz lične perspektive, nisam siguran da ovde moramo da pratimo taj paralelizam i da prevodilac nužno mora da bude ovlašćeni sudski prevodilac sa liste prevodilaca pri Ministarstvu pravde. Ostaje problem troškova, jer s obzirom na to da naš pravilnik ne dozvoljava mogućnost rešavanja o troškovima postupka, troškove prevođenja će u krajnjoj liniji snositi lice koje je te troškove predujmilo. Dakle, eventualna mogućnost naknade troškova, ukoliko bi materijalno-pravni ishod postupka to nalagao, bi onda moralo da se dešava na drugom polju, što nas zapravo vodi i na našu drugu temu, a to je odnos postupaka pred komisijom i pred sudom. Šta je ovde osnovni izvor dilema? Osnovni izvor dilema je taj što naši propisi dozvoljavaju, i ne samo naši, to je uporedna praksa, da je dozvoljena mogućnost koegzistencije postupaka pred sudom i pred komisijom za rešavanje domenskih sporova. Šta više, član 7, stav 3 našeg pravilnika vrlo eksplicitno kaže da prihvatanjem nadležnosti komisije strane u postupku se ne odriču prava na traženje sudske zaštite u stvari koje je predmet postupka. Na samom početku alternativnog načina rešavanja domenskih sporova kod nas postojala ideja da se napravi neka, nazovimo je, isključiva nadležnost komisije za rešavanje domenskih sporova. Međutim, vrlo brzo se uvidelo da bi takvo rešenje bilo koncepcijski neprihvatljivo sa stanovišta naših propisa, jer jedan alternativni mehanizam rešavanja sporova, koji je jednostepen, nikako ne bi mogao da ima isključivu nadležnost. Sa druge strane, ne postoji nikakvo pravno-političko opravdanje da sudovi imaju isključivu nadležnost u ovim stvarima. Tako da, kada posmatramo ove stvari u kontekstu, koegzistencija alternativnog i sudskog postupka je zapravo jedino moguće rešenje. Međutim, to što ovi postupci mogu da koegzistiraju, ne znači i da su oni uvek nužno potpuno identični. Osnovna razlika između sudskog i alternativnog postupka jeste u tome što je sudski postupak po krugu stvari kojima može da se bavi znatno širi od alternativnog. Sudski postupak se po pravilu primarno odnosi na utvrđivanje povrede subjektivnog prava intelektualne svojine, dok alternativni postupak treba da bude usmeren na prestanak ili prenos registracije spornog domena, ukoliko su ispunjeni kumulativni uslovi o kojima je profesorka Radovanović pričala govoreći o praksi naše komisije u prethodnoj godini. Šta su tri moguća karakteristična scenarija za ovaj odnos sudskog i postupka pred komisijom? Prva situacija bi bila kada bi postupak pred sudom bio pokrenut pre postupka pred komisijom. Ovo bi bilo više teorijski nego praktično zamislivo, jer je ovde zapravo sva odgovornost na tužiocu. Pravilnik nema nikakvu preciznu odredbu koja bi omogućila neko odbacivanje tužbe ili nešto tome slično u slučaju da prethodno postoji sudski postupak koji je otvoren. Dakle, ono što bi moralo da se desi zapravo jeste da bi moralo da se formira arbitražno veće koje bi onda, analogno drugoj situaciji o kojoj ćemo pričati, utvrđivalo kakva će biti sudbina postupka pred komisijom, pred tim arbitražnim većem. Da li će se obustaviti, prekinuti ili će se pokrenuti, odnosno nastaviti. To bi sa stanovišta, dakle, tu ocenu će arbitri činiti od slučaja do slučaja, imajući u vidu sve okolnosti, ali u situaciji kada je već pokrenut sudski postupak, opet, vrlo lično mi se čini da bi za tužioca bilo preveliko kockanje, da tako kažem, da se upušta u pokretanje postupka pred komisijom nakon što je postupak pred sudom već otpočeo. Što se tiče drugog scenarija, pokretanja postupka pred sudom za vreme trajanja postupka pred komisijom, to je situacija koja je eksplicitno uređena našim pravilnikom. Dakle, kao što sam malo pre rekao, na arbitražnom veću je ovlašćenje da, ceneći sve okolnosti slučaja, utvrdi da li bi u takvoj situaciji postupak pred komisijom trebalo prekinuti, obustaviti ili pak nastaviti. Jedina situacija u kojoj će nužno doći do obustave postupka pred komisijom bi bila ta kada bi za vreme trajanja postupka pred komisijom bila doneta pravnosnažna sudska odluka u stvari koja je predmet spora pred komisijom. Konačno, ostaje treća situacija, a to je pitanje pokretanja postupka pred sudom nakon okončanja postupka pred komisijom. Ova situacija bi nekima mogla da zaliči na neku vrstu kontrole odluke koju je donelo arbitražno veće. Međutim, ako bismo pokušali da napravimo neku paralelu između postupka poništaja arbitražne odluke i ove situacije, tako nešto ne bi stajalo. Ideja pokretanja sudskog postupka nakon što se postupak pred komisijom završi ne bi trebalo da bude u kontroli kvaliteta rada arbitražnog veća. Dakle, taj poništaj koji bi postojao u zoni klasične trgovinske arbitraže ovde ne postoji. Ovde bi se pred sudom, dakle ne bismo imali efekat res judicata takve odluke pred komisijom, pred sudom bi se pokretao ili novi meritorni postupak, gde bi odluka komisije bila jedan od dokaza koje će onda sud ceniti slobodno kao i sve ostale dokaze predložene u postupku, ili ono što bi moglo da bude još interesantnija situacija, jeste da se pokrene postupak za naknadu štete, s obzirom na to da komisija ne može da opredeli troškove postupka zavisno od uspeha strana u sporu. Dakle, to bi bila situacija gde bi potencijal za korišćenje sudskog postupka nakon pokretanja postupka pred komisijom, bila veoma plodna. Imajući u vidu vremenska ograničenja i to da verovatno treba da ostavimo neko vreme za pitanje, ja bih se ovde zaustavio, pa ukoliko je bilo šta ostalo nejasno ili nedorečeno, spreman sam da o tome porazgovaramo u narednom delu. Hvala vam na pažnju.
Hvala najlepše kolega Ivanoviću. Dakle, nama je ostalo vrlo malo vremena da porazgovaramo o ovome što ste čuli, ili eventualno još o nečemu. Da li se neko javlja za reč sa nekim pitanjem ili komentarom? Izvolite.
Vojislav Rodić, direktor ovlašćenog registra INET. Imam pitanje vezano, profesor Radovanović, vezano za uvođenje IDN domena i eventualno da li to može da utiče na odlučivanje u sporovima. Konkretno, do 9. decembra niste mogli da registrujete nazive sa č, ć, š, mogli ste samo latinično, na primer, Radovanović. Od 10. decembra do 5. marta je bio onaj sunrise period kada ste imali pravo prvenstva da vi odaberete ili Radovanović ili Radovanović. Posle 5. marta svako može da registruje. I sad zamislite, na primjer, da postoji vinarija Radovanović koja je prethodnih 11 godina mogla samo da ima radovanović.rs, ne iskoristi svoje pravo i onda se posle 5. marta neki drugi Radovanović, bavi se bilo čime, limarska radnja, registrujete, a vi onda kažete, a upa čekaj, mi smo zaštitili Radovanović svojevremeno. Kako? Ovo je sad, znači, jedno spekulativno pitanje, ali na koji način će uvođenje IDN domena potencijalno uticati na donošenje odluka u ovakvim slučajevima? Znači, vi ste spomenuli večernje i večernje, može da bude i večernje, makar to ništa ne značilo, ali kad pričamo o našim prezimenima, tu tek ima jako puno različitih kombinacija č i ć, od kojih su neke, postoji i jedna i druga varijanta. Da li očekujete tu neke promene? Pretpostavljam da još uvek niste imali slučajeve vezano za IDN.
Moje mišljenje je da može uticati nebitno, ali mislim da se to ne tiče čak upotrebe č, ć i slično, nego vrednovanja da li je to isto ili slično žigu. Tako da ako je taj uslov zadovoljen, nezavisno od toga da li je č, ć ili bitno je sličan, ako je večernje, kada reč sama za sebe ne znači ništa, onda svakako upućuje na to. Ne mogu sad da se setim primjera gde bi moglo da dovede do bitno drugačijeg značenja c umesto č ili obrnuto. Tada bismo onda mogli govoriti da može.
Mogu da vam kažem primjer. Znači, jedna preduzetnička radnja koja je, da li još uvek registrovana, ne znam, ali vrlo simptomatično engleskim alfabetom pisano cicic.rs. Postoje domen, odnosno CRS. To može da bude, mi ćemo reći, pa verovatno je Čičić, a možda i Čičić, možda i Čičić. Imamo takvih slučajeva. Zato sam postavio pitanje. Otvara se odjedanput veliki broj varijanti.
Svakako da, ali svakako će se vrednovati sličnost, odnosno istovetnost. Ako je zbunjujuće, onda može uticati. Ako asocira odmah na nešto, onda ne može.
Da li ima još pitanja? Ja, profesor Popović, izvolite.
Pa više kao komentar, samo da se nadovežem na ono što je koleginica Radovanović lepo objasnila i pomenula je zapravo da arbitražna veća često imaju problem sa tumačenjem ovog trećeg materijalno-pravnog uslova. Hteo bih samo za one koji nisu u toku, a rekao bih da većina to ovde već zna, da je u toku zapravo izmena pravilnika i da će ono i postati ili, što će svakako olakšati rad arbitražnim većima, mada i do sada je to bilo, pa da kažemo, ekstenzivno tumačeno, što nije nikakva specifičnost Srbije i tumačenja domaćeg pravilnika, jednostavno je rađeno ono što se radilo i radi još uvek prilikom tumačenja UDRP pravila, gde takođe taj uslov i dalje stoji kao
ovlašćenja u pogledu implementacije odluka koje donosi, već bi te odluke trebalo da sprovodi RNIDS. Ali se to u praksi, koliko poučen sam iz praktičnog primjera, da to faktički ne radi RNIDS, nego da radi konkretno ovlašćeni registar koji je registrovao domen. I konkretno se dogodila situacija da je pokrenut spor pred komisijom koji se završio usvajanjem tužbenog zahteva gde je naloženo brisanje domena. Međutim, ovlašćeni registar je mene poučio na jednom, sam bio neprijatno iznenađen, da oni nemaju mogućnost da obrišu taj domen, nego da se ta odluka može sprovesti samo prenosom domena na tužioca. Ja sam bio pomalo iznenađen time i onda sam pomislio pa kao kako to odluka glasi baš ovako kako piše, pa ne, kao eto mi prosto nemamo tu faktičku mogućnost. I na kraju je problem praktično rešen tako što je domen prenet i nije kasnije plaćena naknada za njegovo održavanje, pa je bio ugašen. Ali me samo zanima, znači, u stvari to je više ukazivanje na problem, a više me zanima koje su ingerencije komisije u slučaju, recimo, da registar ne sprovodi odluku.
Hvala. Možda vi možete da nam kažete nešto na tu temu?
Oko ingerencija komisije ne znam. Zvanično bi trebalo da RNIDS sprovodi postupak. Ne znam gde je došlo do problema. Ja vas molim da to dokumentujete, pošaljete zvanično na adresu koje postoje na našem sajtu ima, da proverimo gde je bio problem i da rešimo taj problem tako da u buduće ne postoji. Postoji način kako to registar domena, znači RNIDS sam radi i ne bi trebalo da rade ovlašteni registri, jer u trenutku kada domen uđe u arbitražu, on se praktično pomera iz nadležnosti ovlaštenog registra u nadležnost RNIDS-a i trebalo bi tu sve vreme da ostane do trenutka dok nema rešenje, a po rešenju arbitražne komisije on može da se pomera tamo gde je arbitražna komisija i onaj ko je dobio spor rešava. Znači, negde je došlo do tehničkog problema, nešto nije dobro shvaćeno. Ja vas molim da to napišete, da proverite da mi proverimo gde je bio problem i propust u našim pravilima i da se to u buduće ne desi.
Slučaj na koji referiram je bio iz 2017. godine. Sad ne znam da li je umeđu vremenu nešto menjeno.
Pazite, prvi put za situaciju koju spominjete saznajem, ona nikada nije došla do nas. Molim vas, dokumentujete, pošaljite i naći ćemo način da ona bude rešena. Onako, shvatite kako vam kažem, dajte da se ne desi nekom drugom. Ja vas zato molim.
Ne, mislim, stvar je rešena, ali zanimljivo je zato što se i ovlašćeni registar samoinicijativno javio. On je dobio tu odluku, očigledno, da li od komisije, da li od RNIDS-a.
Negde je došlo do loših tumačenja, gde tačno nećemo ni tražiti gde je došlo. Mi ćemo samo isproveravati da li negde kod nas u pravilima ne postoji problem, jer shvatite, domen koji je pod arbitražom nije dostupan nikom drugom nego registru.
Da, jasno.
Nacionalnom registru. I u trenutku kada je stigla odluka, a nacionalni registar je to mogao da uradi, nikakva potreba, domen se vraća ovlaštenim registrima u trenutku kada je neko dobio pravo sa njim da raspolaže. Onaj ko briše ne bi trebalo da ima zadatak da ga on obriše, tako da to negde moramo da proverimo šta piše tačno i da po tome rešimo. Ja zato moram...
Dobro, bit ću slobodan onda da vam to dostavim.
Hvala najlepše. Ako se ne varam, profesor Popović je tražio reč, izvolite.
Da, samo mali komentar ispred komisije. Takođe, ponavljam ovo što je RNIDS rekao, nismo znali za problem, tako da i mi ćemo se zainteresovati sa time. Niko drugi se u proteklih 10 godina nije javio ni sa kakvim takvim problemom. U suštini komisija dostavlja odluku RNIDS-u, RNIDS izvršava odluku, tako da mislim da je to više pitanje za RNIDS nego za komisiju.
Hvala. Ima li još pitanja ili komentara? Ako nema, onda je meni palo dužnost da zatvorim ovaj naš skup današnji pod nazivom Internet dijalog. To je u stvari nešto što bi trebalo da najavi našu konferenciju Intelektualna svojina internet koja će biti održana za godinu dana. Ovo je bila jedna mini konferencija, naravno ne po značaju, nego po trajanju. Puno vam hvala što ste učestvovali, što ste došli u stvari prvo da slušate, da učestvujete u njoj. Hvala izlagačima i nadam se da ćemo se ovako u lepom broju videti za godinu dana. Hvala, prijatno.